All right, Ben Hitchcock Cros coming at you with more follow on fallout here. We have a pretty startling fact. We have a hearing, and at least two witnesses testify that one of them is a board member, that he has no knowledge of the board ever voting, uh, even by consensus, to employ the Von Briesen law firm as a lawyer for the Milwaukee Public Schools. Now, that's a little bit strange because as a $1.5 billion corporation and hiring an attorney, and we've had plenty, I think, of information here on the bills in excess of $100,000, the bills, each one, I believe, in excess of that amount, paid by Milwaukee Public Schools to the Von Briesen law firm. And, that's all fine if that's something that we, the people of the city of Milwaukee, have agreed to do. I guess you, the people of the city of Milwaukee. Do you see what I'm saying? So, what does that mean? We all have, let's just talk about corporate law and democracy here, and the state statute, by the way. We have a corporation known as the Milwaukee Board of School Directors doing business as Milwaukee Public Schools that is authorized and has a monopoly power over many of the schools in the city of Milwaukee. Great. Now, by law, by state statute, the city attorney of the city of Milwaukee represents the Milwaukee Board of School Directors in all things, unless and only unless there is a finding by, I think, one of three bodies, the city attorney, the mayor, or the board of Milwaukee Public Schools, that the city attorney can't do the work for whatever reason. I think it's pretty much entirely in their discretion, but there needs to be that finding. Then and only then can they hire outside counsel. A, it's not my understanding that there has ever been that finding. And B, again, I can report to you here that it, as far as I understand it, no board vote has ever ratified any contract, understanding, or any work arrangement with the Von Briesen law firm. I understand that there was a consensus in a closed session meeting, but I also understand some more things. Now, number one, by corporate law, the a corporation can't represent itself. It needs to have an attorney. I also understand that under corporate law, it's not good enough for there to be a consensus of board members without an actual vote. And again, it's my understanding that a vote in this particular situation is sine qua non, not just to ratify any contract that there may be, but to, again, to get past this statutory hurdle that the city of Milwaukee must represent Milwaukee Public Schools. And I'm sure there's a reason that that statute exists. And it's not for, I'm sure there was a historical reason, is what I'm trying to say, that that statute exists. Then we look at Wisconsin's open meetings law. As a public corporation, really a public body here, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors is obliged to conduct its business in public. Now, we also interviewed the interim, called, I guess, as a witness, the interim board clerk. That's Jill Koala. I understand it's Jolene is the proper pronunciation of the first name. So, okay. So we called her, and she also knew of no vote to employ the Von Briesen law firm, nor of any vote to go into closed session to even discuss such a topic. Now, I'm not as much as an expert on the open meetings law as many others. I'll be the first to acknowledge that. But it's my understanding that any vote by a public corporation, for example, Milwaukee Public Schools, must be done in public. not Milwaukee Private Executive Schools. That's not what it's called. It's the public's school system. And so the business of the public must be done in public. That's the facts. That's the law, anyway. So it's also my understanding that if such a vote did take place by consensus or secret ballot or winks or nods or whatever, that would be void or voidable. I always get those two confused here, meaning that with proper legal um, authority, one could convince a circuit court judge to make any such agreement um, illegal. So that is it's a pretty big deal in my opinion. Now, the when I raised this to the attorneys, my colleagues at Von Briesen, they insisted that this was silly and that they had entered a notice of representation, so therefore that was all there was to it. But once again, as a taxpayer of the city of Milwaukee, or which I am, the very clear that some of my money has gone to pay this Von Briesen law firm for its representation, multiple representation on multiple cases. And again, I mean, this is just think of the follow-on hearing. They had two full attorneys there. I'm assuming that they're both billing upwards of 350, easily 450, 550, I'd assume. Um, for basically 50-hour work week. That's significant. There's a third lawyer in the back that they left back home who's still also doing work for MPS. That's a lot of money. And if it wasn't properly authorized by the people who are authorized to do the work to authorize those expenditures at MPS, then the public should not have to pay for those expenditures. That's the bottom line. And that's the final concept here is democracy. The people who are authorized, the board members, the directors of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, are voted into that position by the people of the city of Milwaukee. The corporation, MPS, or Milwaukee Boards, is the citizens of the city of Milwaukee's. They delegate their authority to certain board members who then are able to tax and spend. But if they have conducted that business in an illegal fashion, once again, it's my supposition, proposition, an allegation, and frankly, resolution that the taxpayers should not have to foot the bill for the Von Briesen representation unless and until the Milwaukee Board of School Directors can produce some document showing that they made this decision and that they had the authority and they did it in the proper way when they did it. I don't know what could possibly be controversial about spending the public's money accordance with the law. What could possibly be silly about spending the public's money in accordance with the public records law in public? What could be silly about that? You tell me. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll keep you informed.